Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Asian Seller Podcast. I'm your host, Meghla Bhardwaj, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about a very important topic. We're going to be talking about how you can vet China sourcing agents and China suppliers when you source from China. And to talk about this, I have with me Sophie Mao, who's the directing partner of Chibridge law firm, and she's based in Guangzhou. Hi, Sophie. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. We work from home every day.
Yeah.
It's a little boring, but still, it's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's going on in the world is just so scary. Everywhere the number of COVID-19 cases are increasing. But yeah, it's good. At least we can work from home, and we can continue with our businesses. So, Sophie, I'm quite interested in you sharing some advice and tips from people on how they can source safely from China. And you and I have been talking about this for quite a few months, and you were actually supposed to speak at Global Sources Summit in April, but of course that is canceled now.
Yeah.
And you have been sharing, quite a lot of articles in the Facebook group that we have, and you also have your own blog. And in fact, I have known you for, I don't know, more than maybe 10 years now, because you used to work with Mike Bellamy previously. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a long time ago. So, and then, recently there were some cases where a couple of importers were cheated by this one person, and we gradually found out that there were quite a few people who were cheated. And so I thought, maybe this is a good time to get you on the podcast and talk to you about how people can prevent this from happening. So before we start talking about the topic, Sophie, do you want to tell us about yourself, your background, and how do you help importers?
Okay. My pleasure. Actually, as you may see, I'm admitted to the Bar Association of China in 1997, and but recently I have noticed there is increasing demand for legal service in China, especially for foreigners, maybe for foreign investor or for foreign buyers. Because I think the main concern for overseas businessmen is the language. The language is a big problem because people don't know what the law is about, and even they don't know how to check the identity of a legitimate business owner. And actually, that's, in my opinion, that's part of the reason why so many people get cheated. Yeah. And so that's what we mainly doing now, to advise how to source safely in China or how to doing business in China. That's our main business now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us, how can people vet sourcing agents, or individuals that they find on Alibaba, for example, or, in Facebook groups nowadays, there are a lot of people who claim to be experts, and they do very long posts about how to source from China. And then, they give the impression of being very professional and knowledgeable, but we really don't know what their background is. Are they just like some individuals sitting in their basement with no experience, or are they really legitimate companies, or are they just out there to cheat people? So what should people do to vet such individuals and companies before they place orders? So we're specifically talking about sourcing agents now.
Okay, actually, there are some trade company, they are doing sourcing agent service, right?
Yeah.
And also, as far as I know, there are a lot of people, they do like Soho, work from home
Right.
as sourcing agent.
Yeah.
And actually, they are individuals, they don't have a company. But I mean, company or individual is not the point to tell if this business, if their business is legitimate.
Right.
Yeah, because people, it's very easy to set up a company today. So still, people can set up a company, particularly to cheat money. So it doesn't matter, what kind of entity they are, but the point is you have to check, double check, whatever they claim themselves to be. If, and also I know there are some individual, they working independently, but they will use someone's company name to get business, but it's very hard to tell. So I think if you want to source in China, you really have to do some homework. Yeah. Not to buy whatever people telling you, but you have to do some homework yourself. And actually, that's the main purpose for us to start our blog, our legal blog, just to tell people the ABC about doing business in China.
So what are some of the specific things that people can check about a company? So like previously you were mentioning a lot of the information where we can, cross-check things is actually in Chinese, right? Like the databases or the government, registration certificates, for example, all of those are in Chinese. So let's say I do have maybe an employee in China, or I do have somebody who can read and speak Chinese. What are some of the things that I can cross-check about a company?
If they have some Chinese assistant, I think it's better to have the employees to do the double check. But still, that requires some basic legal knowledge. Like how to check the government. Maybe you can ask them for some basic information firstly, and ask them to show you the copy of their business license. Yeah, and then you can ask your Chinese assistant to check in the government database or some app. There are some app, it's free or it's paid. It's up to what kind of information you are looking for, But for the basic information, you can just get online free, and then you can check the information to match whatever information they originally provide you.
Right.
So maybe you can see something, see the red flag.
Yeah, maybe something is not consistent with what they are telling you. And what else should we look for? For example, should we look for how old the company is? If it's a very newly established company, then maybe that's sort of a red flag. But if it is, a well-established company that's, been doing business for 5-10 years, that's maybe, a +1 for them. What are some of the other things that we can check, while looking into the company profile and the company information?
Well, actually, in the business license or in their in the government database, they will show the business scope of this company.
Okay.
So you can tell what kind of company it is. Like it is a factory or it is just a trade company. Yeah. So I think for trade company, it's very easy to set up a trade company, and there actually they don't have no any assets at all, right? But for factory, they have to buy a lot of equipment, to hire to hire workers. So I think maybe it's better for people to cooperate with the factory. And also the factory, they could, I think they will be responsible for the quality. However, the trade market, the trade company, maybe it's hard to ask them to be responsible for the bad quality or maybe later delivery such things, because they are middlemen.
Right. Yeah, the factory, of course, has more control over everything. Also, you also mentioned that sometimes these agents register companies in Hong Kong, and that is very difficult to, to really track and to ascertain that it's a legitimate company.
What I mean is not like you can do nothing, but the situation is whatever you can do is too limited. Actually, I mean, to set up a Hong Kong company to do business is very common. I'm not saying you cannot make deal with Hong Kong company, because I think it's for the purpose for free remove of the fund. Many Chinese factory, especially like the factory in Guangdong province, it's very convenient for them to set up a Hong Kong company, right? So they can get the payment and they can pay maybe for their raw material very convenient. So it's just for the purpose for convenience. However, there's some Hong Kong company, it's particularly set up to cheat money. That's something we have to be careful. Because, according to the company law, the shareholder, they are not supposed to be responsible for whatever the company did, right? So they will say, oh, I get your money, but I failed to deliver the products. You can sue my company, but you cannot, run after the shareholder, right? But I mean, if you are dealing with a mainland company, the situation will be a little different. Because if you win the case, and even the company, they refuse to pay you any compensation, the shareholder or the legal representative will be put in the blacklist. And there is a little some restriction for their movement, like they cannot take the plane to fly, and even for high speed train. So they don't want to get into such trouble.
Okay.
So what I mean is it's better to deal with the mainland company.
Okay, that makes sense. And so what can a buyer do? Let's say they have been cheated. They made a payment to a sourcing agent, and now the sourcing agent has stopped replying to their emails and stopped replying to their messages. What are the options for a buyer in such a situation?
Maybe we can help them to try to find the real identity behind the fraud. But I mean, if they plan to cheat your money, maybe they probably will hide their real identity, right? So it's really not easy.
Right. So I guess this is another thing that people should do before they place an order with somebody like this. Maybe ask for their government ID as well, or some type of document that can actually confirm their personal identity. Do you think that's advisable?
Yeah, I know a lot of people, they are finding the suppliers online today, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very convenient. But you cannot just stop on the online information, because the expansion uh, in the in any e-commerce platform like Alibaba or Global Source, it's all English. And
Right.
they actually can call whatever they want to call themselves in English name. And maybe you meet with them in some trade show, and in their store, they will deliver you their like a business card, but all this information are in Chinese, in English, because they are trade-oriented company, right? So they will provide all information in English. It's okay, but but this is actually the official identity or whatever they are. So if you trying to buy from them, still you have to ask them to provide you a copy of business license.
Okay.
Yeah, but people, sometimes they just forget it. They take whatever they are told. Like if they see their website, they will see the website. The website was beautiful, but everything could be a liar.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that we often tell people is that you should trust but verify, right? That's very
Yeah.
important. You trust everything you see and all the information, but at the same time, you should verify um, anything that the supplier tells you or the sourcing agent tells you via, a third-party database or by other means. So let's talk a little bit about contracts. When we are sourcing from China, a lot of buyers, they will sign contracts with their suppliers like NDA agreements, NNN agreements. So first of all, do these contracts have to be in Chinese, or can they be only in English, or should they be bilingual? Like, what is the preferred language of these contracts?
Okay. I know there's some buyers, they feel more confident if the contract is in English, because in this way they will know whatever in the contract. And actually, according to the China law, as long as the both parties sign the agreement, it's valid. It don't have to be in English. However, if something goes wrong, if you have to go to the court, the only language could be used is Chinese.
Okay.
It means if you use a English contract, you have to have someone to translate it. And maybe there's something goes wrong and you cannot control it, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, the best way is, to hire a local lawyer, a Chinese lawyer, to prepare a bilingual contract for you, and to specify it if there is any conflict between these two versions, the Chinese will prevail.
Okay.
Because this contract is prepared by your lawyer. So you can trust this Chinese one, even though you don't know what it says. It's for your benefit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's better.
Yeah. So how seriously do you think Chinese suppliers take these contracts? Like, do they, are they very particular about following all of the agreements in the contract, especially when it comes to IP protection, for example, or other things like delivery times and things like that. How particular are Chinese companies, following these the contract guidelines?
Well, it's an interesting question. Actually, I recently prepare a bilingual contract for my clients. And then the clients approached me, said, oh, the Chinese factory, they don't want to sign this agreement because it's very strict, Yeah, it specifies the damages for later delivery for the bad quality. So I told him, if they don't want to sign the agreement, it means they actually don't want to be responsible for whatever they do wrong. So I mean, maybe you have to find another suppliers. Because even they don't want to, sign the agreement, how can you count on them, to follow the agreement in the future?
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a question about, the price. If you get a very low price, and in the same time, you expect the factory to, to follow the contract, I think it's very difficult. Because the factory send I'm nearly, no profit.
Yeah.
So I don't want to pay any damages, even something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's something between the quality and price. You have to choose what's the best option for you.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because sometimes we just go for the lower price. We think that, oh, this factory is offering a 10 or 15% lower price than the other one. It's better for us. But we don't realize that in China, or in fact, anywhere else that you source from, you actually get what you pay for. If you pay a lower price, you'll get a lower quality product, and vice versa. So that's a very good point that you make. Be aware of factories that are offering extremely low prices, and maybe there's something not right about that company. So when it comes to IP infringement, what can importers do to protect their IP when they are manufacturing in China?
Well, I think this is something maybe some overseas business owners, they are not unaware about, because they think, oh, I already have IP registered in my country, and it will be protected anywhere. But actually, it's not true. Any protection upon the IP right is based on if you have registered this IP rights in China, like the trademark and the patents. You have firstly to register it in China, then you can claim protection. Maybe it's criminal, or maybe it's a civil procedure, or maybe you can ask the customs to stop the products leaving China. But firstly, you have to register it. And actually, we have done a lot of job to help our clients to register the IP in China, and then we help them to file with the customs. Because sometimes it's very difficult for you to find the factory they produce the counterfeit and stops them, right? It costs a lot of money. But one thing is, you just spend a little bit money to file with the customs. And actually, the file with the customs is free of charge of government fee.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very cost-effective way. So at least you can stop all this counterfeit live in China.
Okay.
So they will not compete with you.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So I guess if anybody has a unique product that they have developed or they have IP, then it makes sense for them to register that patent in China and of course in the country that they're selling in. So what is the process of registering a patent in China, and is it, fairly easy to do? What is the cost approximately? Can you tell us a little bit about the process?
Well, for the trademark, I think it's the maybe most convenient to do because it's very obviously if someone use your trademark, right? But for patent, maybe it needs some expert opinion about if it infringes your patent.
Okay.
So yeah, I think everyone, even they are buying from China, I mean, even they don't want to sell their products in China, but they want to manufacture their products in China and sell it in overseas market, still they have to register trademark. Because sometimes it's very common, like today you manufacture these products in like this company, and someday you are unhappy with them, and because maybe of the price or maybe the bad quality, you want to move your manufacturing, and then you find your supplier have already registered your trademark.
Oh.
Yeah, so either you stay with them, otherwise you have to buy it back with a very high price. Because you can do nothing.
Yeah.
Or you file a lawsuit to to get this trademark back. But I mean, it takes time, really. Maybe 2 or 3 years minimum.
Okay. So the best thing to do is, first of all, file a trademark, right? Register your trademark in China. And at least that will eliminate any counterfeit products, under your own brand. There may be instances where the supplier may copy your product and use their own brand name, right, on the product. So, a trademark registration doesn't prevent that, right?
Of course, prevent that. I mean, once you register your trademark in China, you can ask for protection. Maybe the local AIC, the administration of industry and commerce.
Okay.
Or maybe you can file a lawsuit against them. Or maybe criminal offense if the amount involved is big, is huge. You can send them into prison.
Okay. So this is for trademarks. Let's say my trademark is, just as an example, let's say it is Nike. So if I register Nike in China, that means no other company, of course, can use that, the word Nike. But what if they use their own brand name, but just copy my product, because I haven't patented the product in
That's
China.
Design.
Right?
That's
Design. Yeah. Let's say they copy the design and they use something else like Pikey. That's very common. They use like a different variation of the trademark.
Similar.
Right? Similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, well, it's a little complicated,
Yeah.
Like what you say, Nike.
Yeah.
Nike is actually it's an English name, right? However, if they want to manufacture the shoes in China, still they have to register a Chinese version of this Nike, a Chinese language.
Okay.
Yeah, because most of the Chinese, they will give whatever the product a Chinese name. Nike, that's the Chinese name. Yeah, and if some even they are some very famous brand like
KFC is like Kandaji.
yeah, something something like that. They think, oh, we are like maybe it's a luxury brand, Chanel or something. Yeah, as far as I know, they only register their English name, but they didn't think, oh, it's so important for us to register a Chinese a name in Chinese language, And then some Chinese businessmen register, the Chinese translation.
Okay.
And then because people, they will get it confused. They will think, oh, this is this brand, but actually it has nothing to do with this, luxury brand. So they have to, as far as I know, they filed lawsuit, but finally they lost the case.
Oh,
they lost the case, and the only option is they just give up this trademark, this Chinese trademark, or buy it back. Depends. I mean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think the other thing people should remember is that in China, it is first to file and it's not first to use, right? Whereas in some other countries, it is first to use. So even if you've been using that trademark before, anyone else
like
who's
you are privileged to get this name, but I mean, actually, the Chinese government revised the trademark law last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they found that you are using some famous overseas brand, they will not accept your application. Yeah. So it's better. But I mean, you cannot count on people to do the job for you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think your brand is important for you, I think the best thing is to register it as soon as possible. Even you, for the time being, you don't have a plan for this China market. Or maybe you just think, oh, I only manufacture it. But who knows, right? Even manufacturing, it's risky because someone probably will register it and then file with the customs, stop you to export to export. Yeah. So you have to make deal with them eventually.
Right.
It's terrible.
So what is the process for filing a trademark in China? And does your company help with that? And how much does it cost?
It depends. I mean, if you want to file with the Chinese customs, firstly, you have to get your application of the trademark granted, and then you can do that. But for the registration of trademark, it's around 1 year. The government always said, oh, they want to speed it up, but let's see. Yeah. And but once you get get it done, it will be, I think it's 3 months to file with the customs.
Okay.
Yeah. And the fee for us to do the registration is not so expensive. It's something around 3,000 RMB for our service fee.
Okay, that's how much US dollars approximately? What's the rate nowadays?
Maybe less than 500. Yeah,
500, yeah, about 500
yeah,
US
less
dollars.
than.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's not at all, that's very reasonable, for even small businesses who are starting out with their own brand. It's not a big amount to invest in, for protecting your brand in the future.
yeah, I mean, if your business is good, maybe it's later. It's too late for you
Mm,
to do it because somebody maybe rejected it already,
yeah.
right? So I think it's not a big amount, and the one thing for the trademark is you can have it forever. It's not like a patent. Patent has a terms
Mm-hmm.
like 10 years and 20 years, but a
Mm.
trademark you can renew it, so you can have it. I mean, permanent.
Okay. And what about patents then? Does your company also help with the patent registration?
Yeah, we do that, and but the patent it's a little complicated because in according to China law there are three kind of patents.
Mm-hmm.
One is design, another is utility, uh, the third one is invention.
Okay.
For design and utility, it's very convenient, and usually you can get it done in like 7 or 8 months.
Mm.
But for invention, it's on average it may take 2.5 years,
Okay.
and more expensive. Yeah.
Mm. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, if somebody does have a very unique product or an invention that they have done that they want to, get protected, I think it's definitely worth considering that as well. Um, okay, so is it really worthwhile filing a lawsuit against a supplier or an agent, if they have been cheated? Like how feasible is it for somebody who's overseas and maybe cannot even travel to China to file a lawsuit? First of all, is it even possible for someone who is based in the US or Australia or somewhere else to file a lawsuit against a supplier in China without actually going there?
Yes, they could. I
Okay.
mean, but the point is still is if you have their real identity.
Okay.
And the second is if you have enough supportive evidence.
Mm.
Yeah, they can sign a power of attorney in their home country and
Mm-hmm.
get it notarized. It's okay. They don't have to be here, and
Mm.
they can win even they are overseas company. I mean, but still the point is if they have enough evidence.
Mm.
Yeah.
And in your experience, have you seen any overseas importers winning cases like this, against suppliers where there have been some dispute and, or maybe the supplier has, cheated the buyer? Have you experienced this yourself where the buyer has actually won a case?
Yeah, we had some buyers win the case,
Mm-hmm.
but well, it's something like you have to balance
Mm-hmm.
the cost and whatever you are accounting, you are expect, right?
Yeah.
If the amount involved is not so big, maybe a better way is to hire us to send a lawyer letter on
Mm-hmm.
your behalf.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the lawyer letter is just to, like, what does it do? What does the lawyer letter do?
Like we will, um, firstly, we will give a brief description about what happened, and we will state in the letter said, according to the Chinese law, what you have done is not correct, and
Mm.
you have to fix it, and otherwise we are going to, like file lawsuit against you. But yeah, If this lawyer letter could work, it depends on like the situation. If this business owner is an honest person, is a reasonable one, and in my experience, 1/3 of the lawyer letter works.
Okay.
Not so much, but still, you know, it's a cost-effective way.
Yeah, yeah. And you said if the amount is not very big, then maybe it's not worth filing a lawsuit. So what specific, how do you define big? Like how much should the amount be, in your opinion, approximately, for it to be worth filing a lawsuit?
I mean, for such things, I think actually it's something compared, the cost compared to whatever you are expect, you know, like, because for this kind of case, it's a little complicated for you to prepare the evidence. If the evidence is give you an example, like if it's a quality dispute, you claim the quality is terrible, but still you have to produce a QC report, right? And this QC report, I mean, inspection report is done by some overseas company maybe in the destination port. So you have hired someone to do the inspection firstly, and also you have to have this quality report to be certified by the Chinese embassy. That's
Okay.
Yeah, that's some money. So if the amount in dispute is not so big, I think the best way is to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say the amount is, $50,000. Is it worth, is it still good to negotiate, or would you consider at that point filing a lawsuit?
$50,000. If if the quality is terrible and you cannot accept the product at all, and you can produce a quality report in time. I mean, not like after 1 year later, then you find the problem, right? You have to, have such information, and also you have to notify the supplier of this information in a reasonable time.
Right.
By reasonable, I mean, we cannot say, oh, it has to be like 1 week or 10 days, because after all, it's international trade. But reasonable, I think, at least you have to notify them like in 3 months, right? Or 2 months. Or after the delivery, I mean, maybe 1 month after delivery, right? You have to notify the suppliers firstly, and then you have to have the quality inspection done. And this quality inspection, for most of the case, it has to be done by a third party, not by yourself, right?
Okay.
Because it's something, people will think, oh, it's more trustable. Yeah.
Right.
So you have to consider all these situations. If you have all this evidence, then you can try to file a lawsuit.
Okay. Approximately how much does it cost to file a lawsuit? Of course, it varies, a lot, and some lawsuits might take a few years, to come to fruition. But approximately, what is the, cost range for filing a lawsuit?
Well, actually, I mean, if you have a solid case, and if you can win the case, the lawyer fee, the court fee will be paid by the losing party.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, so firstly, you have to check if you have a solid case, you have a strong case, if you have enough evidence.
And of course, if you lose, then do you have to pay the lawyer fees for the
You
winning
already
party?
pay.
No, for the winning party, you don't have to, right?
Oh, no, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah, at least for the moment, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so like the lawyer fees and all would be, would you say it's like a few $1,000s? Like if you specifically talk in US dollars, would you say it's like, less than $5,000 for, let's say, a case that where you have a solid case? Would it be approximately? I mean, of course, it varies from case to case, but just trying to get like a benchmark figure, because sometimes people think that, oh, I can't really file a lawsuit in China because it's going to be so expensive and I have to fly out there and everything. So I just want to give people, a benchmark cost of how much approximately it might cost. Of course, it might, go, it might be a lot more depending on how long the case goes on. But just approximately, how much do you think it would cost?
Well, actually, I mean, in China, for most of the case, it's for the lawyer fee, it's charged based on the amount in dispute. It's not up to the work, the time,
Okay.
Yeah, and you can discuss with your lawyer about the fee, but I mean, after all, this is international trade dispute, and for most of the situation, the lawyer has to be an English speak lawyer, right? So probably it will be a little bit expensive. But I mean, the thing is, if you have a strong case, the losing party will pay for the lawyer fee. But I mean, for most of the business owner, sometimes they just think it's, if I said there is a quality problem, I could win the case. It's not right. It's not that simple as they expected, right? So I mean, still it's the same words I want to, remind the people, like you really have to do some homework to understand, the situation here. So when something goes wrong, you know how to deal with it, or at least you know the right approach to deal with it.
Right. Yeah. So approximately, what is the percentage of the disputed amount that a lawyer would charge, to file the case, to fight a case? I mean, is it like around 10% or so, or higher than that?
Actually, still it's up to the amount involved. Like if it's a bigger amount, maybe it's less than 10%.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's small, because sometimes I said we won't charge according to the time, but still it's charged based on the workload involved, right?
Okay.
Even it's a small case, the basic job is the same.
Right.
Maybe big. So yeah, small case maybe 30%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if the amount is not so big, so some business owner, they will think, oh, it's not worthwhile.
Right. Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
So it's a case by case situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sophie, you also mentioned that you might be able to offer some screening services for people who are, thinking of working with a sourcing agent. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that service? Like, if people do get in touch with you, what kind of services would you be able to offer to vet a sourcing agent that they are planning to work with?
Okay. Well, this is actually this is something I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Maybe important than like a contract or something. Because if you are dealing with a fraud, you
Yeah.
will lose maybe a whole year's profit, right? Yeah, the screen service we are doing is you have to provide us your supplies or your agents copy of business license, or maybe just their Chinese name. But you can't count on us to give you any information, like just show us their website.
Yeah.
Because website, I mean, it's a virtual identity.
Right.
Sometimes a website, I know people, and actually when I saw the website, I can smell fraud sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes if the
Because
website is too good, then
yeah,
maybe,
too good to
right?
be true. And
Yeah.
they say, oh, we are leading company in this business. And
Yeah.
actually you can see there is no real photo. It's just a photo copied from, from internet.
Yeah.
So, we get experience so we can smell something. But whatever. If you need us to do the screen service, you have to provide us some information we can use to do this service for you.
Okay. That's great. I think, a lot of the people in my community, they are Amazon and FBA sellers, and they are entrepreneurs, they are smaller buyers. And I think this kind of a service will be useful for them because, many times they can't travel to China to visit the factory or to meet suppliers at a trade show, and they are sourcing online. And of course, we also have to add that I think the majority of suppliers are there to do business, and the majority of companies are not frauds. It's just that there are this small minority, maybe like 1 or 2% of these people
Black
out
sheep.
there. Yeah, the
Yeah.
black sheep. So it's just that you have to protect yourself against these 1 or 2% of companies and individuals. But by and large, all companies in China, I've worked with China for, I lived in Shenzhen for 10 years. I worked with hundreds of factories, and I've been in the sourcing industry myself for 20 years. So all suppliers are genuine and they want to do real business with you, but it's just these small number of frauds and unethical individuals and companies that you need to be aware of, really.
Yeah, and to tell you truth, I really, I think we need to do something to stop such kind of black sheep behavior, because they are ruining the Chinese supplies reputation as
Yeah.
a whole.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah. And one more thing I want to said is about the screen service.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the buyer said, oh, they provide me a mainland bank account, so they are real. But actually, sometimes it's not true, because this mainland bank account actually is for an offshore company. So it's, in the end, it's still a Hong Kong company.
Oh, so is there a way to check that if it is a genuine
Yeah,
bank
I
account
mean,
of a mainland company, or if it is a offshore company bank account in mainland
we
China?
can check. We can
Okay,
tell,
you can tell
but
that.
you have to provide us the information, and also sometimes. But it's common, like I said, some company or some factory, they will use their Hong Kong company
Yeah.
to receive payment. As long as you have a written statement from them, like say, oh, you can pay to this bank account, right? So as long as you pay to this account, it doesn't matter what kind of account it is. As long as you get their written statement, it means they receive your payment.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another, fraud that has been happening in China for quite a few years, where somebody hacks into the supplier's email account, and then they send
Yeah.
their own bank account details to buyers and say that, oh, we're sorry, our bank account details have changed, and please send, the money into this bank account. And, the email is coming from the actual supplier's email address.
Yes, so double check doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So in that case, like, we have to be aware, like, whenever there is a change in bank account details, you have to call the supplier and check with them, hey, have you sent me an email saying this, or maybe just WeChat or something, but don't just reply to that email, because in some cases the email has been hacked.
You know that.
Yeah, I know that very well.
It's terrible. Yeah.
It is, yeah. And again, it's so sad because it's just these small number of people, who do these things and then just spoil the name of all suppliers. And the same in India too. I mean, it happens in China. It also happens in India. There are some people who are just out there to scam people. It's just very sad.
But do you know the situation in like other countries, the Western country? I think it's everywhere, right?
Yeah, I think it's everywhere. I mean, not only developing countries, but I think maybe it may be a little bit more in India and China, just because we have a larger population, and they're more developing countries. So maybe the percentage is about the same, but in terms of the number of such people, they're more. So yeah, but you're right, it happens everywhere.
Yeah, especially for China, because the Chinese language, it's sometimes people they think, oh, I have the company's name, but they don't realize any Chinese identity have to be in Chinese language, not English.
Not in English. Yeah. Okay, that's a very important point. So, Sophie, thank you so much. You shared such a lot of great information. So how can people reach you? I mean, we will put up your company profile and all of the contact details on the website, on the show notes, also on YouTube, where we will post this video. So if anyone has any questions, they will definitely reach out to you. But can you tell us your website over here for people who are listening to the podcast? What is the URL of your website and your email address?
Okay, actually, people can get our contact information easily from our website, which is ChinaLawHelp.com.
Okay, China Law Help.
Simple. Yeah.
Okay, ChinaLawHelp.com. Okay, that's easy to remember.
Yeah, and actually, we have a WeChat official account. And we share a lot of legal information, use the WeChat article.
Okay, and mostly in English? The articles that you share are in
English? They are all in English.
Okay, so what's your WeChat account?
Legal tips.
Legal tips.
Yeah.
Okay,
also in the PPT I sent to you.
Okay, so I will post that in the show notes. But for people listening, it's just legal tips. And is it one word? Just one word, legal tips?
Yeah, one word.
Okay.
If they search any WeChat official account, they will find that.
Okay, awesome. Great. So Sophie, thank you so much for your time and for sharing such a lot of valuable information to all of our buyers, all of our listeners. And I hope I can meet you soon, most probably in October at Global Sources Summit in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, and hope everything will be fine that time.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thanks a lot, Sophie.
Okay. Take care.
You too. Bye.